Hey everybody, are you a craft fair vendor and you thought to yourself, I wonder if my booth setup is costing me sales? Hi, I'm Bill from the Craft Fair Insider, and I have been selling both in person and online since around 2016, and I have definitely gone to a lot of in-person craft fairs, both indoors and outdoors. I'm also a member of a lot of Facebook groups where people are asking for advice from other craft fair vendors, and these kinds of questions comes up all the time. And today we're going to talk about some of the sneaky culprits there are tablecloths. And why is that? Well, I have some thoughts. Okay, so before we dive into why tablecloths can be problematic, let's talk about the usefulness. First of all, there are all sorts of different types of art and craft fairs, and there are some fairs that do require a certain kind of tablecloth. Now, for those of you that have gone tablecloth-less, most likely you are vending at a flea market where presentation isn't quite as important because people are out for deals and they're used to digging around different items on tables that are kind of cluttered. It has a little bit more of that thrift store or antique mall kind of vibe to it, and the tablecloth isn't really going to add any value. But most of the craft and art fairs, that is going to be something that is fairly important. Now, the color that you choose for your tablecloth is also important. What you're looking for in a color is contrast. Contrast between what you're selling and the color of your tablecloth. You basically want your tablecloth to blend into the background, to become invisible as much as possible. You really want to highlight your products, what you're selling on the table. So if you have a lot of, candles that are predominantly in white jars or lighter colored items, then you want to go with a black or dark colored tablecloth. Vice versa, if your items are very dark in color, woody kind of, then you can go with something much lighter. I wouldn't necessarily recommend a white per se because that definitely shows off dirt very well. So I would go with an ivory, an off-white, eggshell, that kind of color. You can do some other lighter colors, like your light blues. For the darker colors, you can go a dark burgundy, a dark forest green, that kind of color. It's just going to depend on the vibe of your merchandise and how far you want to go into your theme. Now, color is less important for a food vendor. In fact, in those cases, ignore everything I said, and if you're out at a craft fair, you've probably noticed that food vendors are obnoxiously bright. So that's your pinks, your yellows, your bright baby blues. Those are more attention-getting colors because their products are not out on the table. The products are the food they're selling behind them. So, they're using color to draw attention, not necessarily to get people looking at things on a table. The other thing that I've seen a lot of people do that I think is a mistake is, they'll lay down a tablecloth and then they'll get another one on top of it, and usually that second one has a lot of pattern to it. So it doesn't matter if it's a plaid, if it's lace, if it is floral. Yes, it may be pretty and it may look wonderful at home, but that pattern is going to compete for attention with shoppers' eyes. I'm going to talk about this a couple times. I know I've talked about this in other videos as well, but you only have a few seconds for somebody to decide as they're walking past your table or walking past your tent whether or not they want to stop and spend a little more time looking to see if they want to shop in your booth. And if you have a really bright colored tablecloth, on top of that you have a very busy pattern, and on top of that a hodgepodge of different items, you're just not going to grab people's attention. People are lazy, let's put it that way. They don't want to spend a lot of time investigating or thinking about whether or not they want to shop from you. They're going to decide very quickly, and you have to make it as easy as possible for them to make those decisions. There is another video that I have you can look at that talks about signage at a craft fair. Signage certainly helps. And then after that, it's the visual appeal of your booth and your tablecloth, and simplicity of that definitely go hand in hand. Now, I'm going to get in trouble with a chunk of my viewers and listeners here, because there is a bit of a divide out there in the topic of tablecloths, and people are fairly passionate. So if you are pro what I'm about to say is not the way to go, just do me a favor, listen to my reasons why. Maybe I'll change your mind. I hope to change your mind for your benefit, but we shall see. The tablecloth that I think, in my opinion, is the one you want to avoid are those stretchy tablecloths. The ones that attach to the bottom feet of your table. Yes, they are a nice, tight, wrinkle-free tabletop. That there's some bonuses there, but I have a solution for that. What happens with those tablecloths is you end up getting an arch predominantly, and whatever you have under your table can be seen by anybody walking by. I have seen coolers, boxes with stuff handwritten on it, stuff just kind of stacked up under the table. Did I say coolers already? Coolers with your lunch in it under those tables. Shoppers are not necessarily registering it. There is an acknowledgement of the junk under the table, and that is impacting the perception of value of all the items that you have on your table in your booth that available for sale. It's having a very negative perception of value of that. Think about, when you yourself go out shopping, it doesn't even have to be at an art or craft fair. So if you go to, let's say, a local Kohl's or Target or something like that, if you've ever noticed, if there's a clearance aisle, it's usually the junkiest, stuff piled on top of each other. People that work in the stores aren't spending time organizing things, right? The newer items that are available, and it doesn't matter if it's, housewares, bedding, if it's men's, women's, right? If you have a brand new table, and let's say it's men's shirts, and they're all folded, if everything is folded in neat little stacks, and it's small, medium, large, your brain is going to think, because it's so neatly displayed, that that must be more valuable than the piles of garbage in the clearance aisle. And it's not just the fact that it's on clearance, and not just the fact that it is new merchandise that has come in, it's how it's displayed. If you think about a boutique store, they might have one or two of something out at a time, and the stock is somewhere else. So the less you have of something, generally speaking, the more expensive it is, at least in your perception of it. And that just goes into That presentation is intentional. Stores have people that are dedicated to making sure that your experience in the store has a particular feeling, and then hopefully that then ties to sales and things like that. So even though your table may be pretty, if people are seeing junk piled up under the table, and I'll even throw in there, if your lunch is on the table and it's visible to customers, like your soda and a sandwich or something like that. In some people's minds, from a psychological perspective, if you're not caring, my air quotes, at this event, then they may question the quality or the care that you've put into making your items, at home or, in your industrial kitchen, wherever you're making your items. There's a possibility that, if they're seeing all that clutter, that's going to distract them, and then they're just going to keep walking past your booth. And I know some of you are probably screaming at the screen here saying, oh, I have my stretchy arch tablecloth and it's just fine. Maybe, maybe not. I definitely think that a cleaner look goes a lot further than people are looking at that. People are seeing it. I see it all the time. When I go to a craft fair, I'm sitting there and I'm looking out as people are setting up. It grinds my gears, I guess you could say. And it's just ugly. And I don't want you guys to have an ugly setup. So there are some alternatives that are out there. The key part is that you're looking for a floor length tablecloth. Now there is a stretchy floor length tablecloth that's available. In the description of this video, I will have a link to a Benable list where I have top items for somebody who is a craft fair vendor, and I do link out to this stretchy yet floor length tablecloth. It is on Amazon. It's pleated, so it definitely hides wrinkles. I know people are worried about like the older fitted tablecloths that are more squared and straight down do tend to wrinkle a bit more. So you are sort of fighting with that. And if you're outdoors, or if you don't have electricity, or frankly, you just don't have time to steam the front of your tablecloth, these stretchy yet flowy tablecloths are really, really good alternatives to the ones that you stick under the feet and then they arch up and then you're kind of looking at the underwear under your table. Some people have said that they don't like the flowy floor-length tablecloths in general because they're outdoors a lot and it's usually very windy and they don't like it flapping around. What I tend to do is I have a set of magnets that I use to attach I have a 1x9 banner sign that goes across the front of my tent, and that's what I use to sort of attach it to the tent itself. So I'll just take 2 of those and I'll put it at the bottom of my tablecloth, one on each side. They're pretty small. They're about the size of a quarter. One on the outside, one on the inside. They, magnetically connect. And that is generally enough to weight the tablecloth down. I know some people also have table runners, and then they lay the table runner over top of it. Those are usually much heavier material, so that also helps prevent the tables from blowing too much. But what that does is it gives a nice clean frontage of your table. Everything is hidden. They are available in tons and tons of colors. So it is a great addition to your, selection of booth materials. I think ultimately, even if you choose to continue with your unattractive arched tablecloths, if you're thinking that you're okay with seeing all of the boxes underneath your tables, consider either not putting anything under the tables, so at the very least, if somebody is looking under, they're not seeing anything. Although I know how important it is to have backstock and other items available. I know I definitely use my under the table for backstock, and then I just fill throughout the day. Maybe get another tablecloth in addition to it then, that you're draping over. I don't know. I think my mission in life is to get people to stop using those stretchy tablecloths because I just can't stand the way they look. So do me a favor and let me know in the comments. Maybe not. If you agree with me, let me know in the comments. Or if you have another way of hiding all of that nasty stuff under your table, share that in the comments with us so that other people can learn from that. Thank you very much for listening today, and yeah, good luck out there, everybody.